Memo. Now for the top story tonight. One of those on the right who does not like how the war in Afghanistan is going is Miss Ann Coulter. She is the author of the brand new bestseller, Demonic, How the Liberal Mob is Endangering America, and she joins us now. Does it make you queasy that you are in agreement with some on the far left, almost all on the far left, about Afghanistan?
Yes, though that happens from time to time. I mean, even a stopped clock will be right. The way to understand, I think, all foreign policy is that Republicans support deploying the troops when it is in the national interest of the United States. Democrats support deploying troops, flinging them around the world, in fact, only provided it is not in the United States' national interest. What are we doing in Libya and Egypt? Why have we escalated the war in Afghanistan? Everything we could accomplish in Afghanistan we had done in the first 6 months of that war. Yes, we should have gone on in, take out the Taliban, kill al-Qaeda, but you don't want regime change in a place like Afghanistan. They have more goats than flush toilets. And Hockenberry has a point. The Taliban themselves, they didn't know what, Mullah Omar didn't know what Osama bin Laden was doing.
Oh,
they
he
invited,
did so. How can you be so
No,
naive?
there's been lots of...
Mullah Omar didn't know what Osama bin Laden was doing?
No, he didn't.
Of course he did.
No, it's been reported in many books, but let's just move on from that.
The
point
I'm going
is,
to challenge you. You're not going to say stuff like that and get away with it.
Okay, it's in Peter Bergen's book.
Okay. I don't care if it's in Peter Bergen's book or the Bible.
And it's consistent with their history.
Okay,
Afghanistan has never exported violence.
CIA satellite photos clearly show, and they were shown by the Pentagon before we went in, that al-Qaeda was practicing, had training camps to wage war, jihad.
Right.
That Mullah Omar and the Taliban knew it, allowed it, and paid for it. So for you to sit there and say the Taliban didn't know
that
what
is not inconsistent with anything I'm saying. They did invite al-Qaeda in. They invited al-Qaeda in to go against the Northern Alliance.
No,
Afghanistan
to go against the Western interests.
Unlike most Muslim countries, Afghanistan has never exported terrorism. They just want to be left alone. They're perfectly happy being poor, ignorant, and having a 30-year lifespan. They just don't like foreigners in their country. That is not a good country for regime change. You know what's a great country for regime change? Iraq is. Iran is. You have a pro-Western population. All you do is get rid of the crazy leader.
Let's stay on Afghanistan here.
But this is to contrast. This is why liberals, as they used to say about Iraq, what does success look like in Afghanistan? What does it look like? You're not going to bring freedom to that country.
Look.
They're 70% illiterate.
I agree with you that with a guy like Karzai, you're supporting a corrupt government. It's almost like South Vietnam. It's almost the same thing. And the people don't like him. They don't trust him. His government is corrupt. It's very difficult to get any semblance of freedom in that country. I agree. But if you pull out, all right, and you basically are looking at the Taliban coming over the border from Pakistan and reestablishing itself as a legitimate government of Afghanistan by force. Karzai will go to London, as I said. The Afghan army will surrender, and the Taliban will be in because they're more ruthless and they have more money, and they'll be backed by Iran and a lot of other people. So then we're back to ground zero.
Perhaps not.
No, perhaps. This is what's going to happen.
This is not the history of Afghanistan. It's not the history of the Taliban. They don't like foreigners in their country. The only reason Obama escalated troops in Afghanistan was because it was a stupid talking point on the campaign trail that Afghanistan, that's the good war, Iraq, the bad war. Why? Because Iraq served America's national security interests.
You were a supporter of President Bush, and President Bush is the architect of the Afghan.
No, I was all for it for the first 6 months. And then we were done. We knocked out the Taliban. We knocked out al-Qaeda.
You didn't knock them out. You chased them over to the neighboring country, and they come right back in.
6 years later, are they going to invite whatever remains of al-Qaeda
Yeah, they are, and they'll reconstitute it right there.
Well,
of course
then we'll
they will.
go back in. It is
then
pointless
we'll go back
to have.
In. All right.
No, Obama has
Tell me what's
increased
wrong
troops.
with this strategy.
What are you doing
Tell me
increasing
what's wrong
troops
with
in a country like that? Anything our bombs hit, the bombs cost more than anything they could possibly hit in Afghanistan.
Tell me what's wrong with this strategy. We've already invested blood and treasure in that country, okay? So I'm for the drawdown, and I think you got to get out of there by 14.
And we shouldn't have had the surge.
Okay. Well, I disagree with that. I think the surge has given us a tactical advantage now in the whole part of the country where there are some people who are coming over to our side, Afghans, and the Afghan army is getting better. There are some battalions there who can fight.
Into Iran.
So I say, start to pull them back. And that's what he's going to do tomorrow night, President Obama. He's going to say, I'm going to take 5 out in July. I'll take another 5 out in December, and we'll draw down. I'm not opposed to that.
We'd be better off going into Iran. We'd be better off going into Canada. We are not going to turn Afghanistan into a functioning democracy. You've got to
do it in a methodical way. We've already invested 10 years and $500 billion and thousands of maimed and dead soldiers and Marines. You don't abandon ship right now.
Well, look, how it's done isn't the point. The point is that it should be done, and we never should have had the surge, and you can't trust Democrats with foreign policy because they do not care about America's national security interests.
Right.
The reason there was a surge was
but
because
the surge tactically has worked. It has actually brought down U.S. casualties. It has put the Taliban on the defensive.
Should have been drawing
they don't control Helmand
6
anymore.
months after we invaded. Once you knock out the
You already said that.
The Taliban, once you quarantine,
got to live where we are. You got to live where we are.
Well, okay, but part of where we live is a place where we have elections in this country, and Americans ought to know not to trust Democrats any place near foreign policy.
And Coulter, everyone, buy her book.